Hi and good morning to this walk and talk. Today I want to talk about some updates that just happened in the world of crypto and Bitcoin. And also I want to discuss some specific points. One of the points is you may have seen that we are doing a challenge at the moment. This challenge will allow you to win $100 in USDC. How does it work? Well, it's simply that you need to find 12 seed phrases and then you're able to unlock a wallet. So what I have done is I simply send or set up a standard wallet with 12 seed phrases, and you can just go ahead, and if you have found all of the seed phrases, you are of course able to unlock this wallet. The first seed phrase you will receive if you enter the challenge, you will find a link below. The other seed phrases you will find in my videos, hidden, so to say. The first person finds the 11 seed phrases that are still in my videos hidden over the next 10 days will be able to unlock a wallet and transfer this $100 away. When you have all the seed phrases, you need to be fast. Set up a MetaMask wallet or set up an Exodus wallet, set up any non-custodial wallet and access the funds. Transfer them out as soon as possible before somebody else finds all seed phrases, because then he will also be able to transfer out the funds. I thought this is a quite good idea because you can combine learning about crypto with earning. So it's a learn and earn. We will probably do this every 10 days or every month. I'm not sure about it. This is the first time now. So from today on, also in this video, you will find one of the seed phrases already. It can be that sometimes there's 2 seed phrases in the video. It can be that there's no seed phrases in the video. It depends on how many videos I do per week. Usually I do 2 per day. I've made some notes here so I don't forget what I wanted to talk about. One thing I wanted to talk about is the new Trump accounts. You may have seen it. So there is a system in place now that Trump helped to set up, which will give every newborn child an account. But this is not a regular bank account. This is an account basically at the Fed. It's quite a direct account, which the account will be set up automatically as soon the child is born. This is quite worrying, I would say, as this seems to me like a CBTC, a first step to a CBTC. There's a lot of things attached to this. So one thing that is attached to this will be that automatically this money will be invested into the stock market. I forgot the number, but I think it's some trillions that will actually be available then for the government again to finance or to buy stocks and pump up the stock market. Also, parents are able to put in some more money into the account and it will not be taxed, what I know. And like I said, the Fed will automatically, or the government will automatically set up this for every newborn. And like this, they are able to slowly implement something like a stablecoin or something like a CBTC. The stablecoins I just mentioned are also something similar, if you ask me. If you look at all what is going on in the stablecoin field at the moment, we have seen the Stablecoin Act. We have seen the Trump family supporting heavily USD1. We have seen other stablecoins rising. We have seen Tether partnering with big financial companies. We know that USDC is heavily involved in the government. We see that all this plays out in a way, in my opinion, that it could be also something like a controllable currency. What is the difference between a CBTC and a stablecoin? If you know any, please leave them, your differences or your ideas in the comments below. I'm not quite sure what it could be. For me, it is quite similar, I have to say. And if we talk about the CBDCs, we also need to talk about how the landscape is actually changing in crypto. As we have seen at the last conference now that just ended some days ago, the BTC or Bitcoin 25 in Las Vegas, we have seen massive changes in industry. We have never had so many financial companies, so many politicians, so many people that have never been in Bitcoin before. The industry has changed so much, so we had all these technical nerds or all these other Bitcoin people before that really supported the basis of Bitcoin, the basis of free money, the basis of having the opportunity to send money without the middleman to everybody. Where did that go? The new narrative, if you watch closely what almost all of the speakers have been promoting, is that you should lend against your Bitcoin. Why is that? Well, they want your Bitcoin. This totally goes away from the idea that you should own your own Bitcoin. You need a custodial now. You need somebody in between if you want to lend. And this can be very, very dangerous. It happened to myself that I lost quite a lot of Bitcoin by lending against it, as it was some years ago when Bitcoin dropped, I think, to 37 in, I don't know when it was, January or February, I forgot the year. But this can happen even if you think you are quite careful and you're not really using all the leverage or all the money that you could take out. You think you are still quite safe, but you're not calculating that it can be just a wick. It's like when you trade. When you leverage trade, you will know or you will understand that actually one wick can execute you. And the same can happen to you if you have a leverage account, or not a leverage account, a lending account. In the lending account, you have a certain threshold where they will actually liquidate you as well, because you cannot, your loan value is actually too much. So that means you have a certain percentage, and if you overreach that certain percentage, the loan giver will execute you. And in my case, I wrote actually what they say about liquidation, when they will liquidate and so on. And it seemed to me to be okay, because it said it will liquidate you just in smaller steps. And it seemed to me that nothing really can happen. I thought to myself, okay, yeah, then maybe they will liquidate a very small portion of my holdings when it goes down. But actually what happened, they liquidated in small steps. But these small steps have been, I think, in minutes. So there was like almost 5 minutes, almost in minute intervals, they have been liquidating. So within 1 hour, everything was liquidated. So it's true that they have been liquidating in smaller steps, but I didn't think that they will liquidate everything in like 1 hour. You know what I mean? So be careful about that. Be careful not to lend out your Bitcoin if it's not really possible. And if you lend out your Bitcoin, or if you lend out any other crypto asset, be very careful that you're not lending out or you're not using all your assets. Maybe use a very little percentage where you say, okay, that's fine. I know it's difficult because you're holding crypto for many, many years. You want to buy something to yourself, but you also don't want to sell the asset. But keep in mind, sometimes it's better to sell little parts of the asset and use it before you are giving most of the time double of the amount that you're borrowing to somebody. It is because it is really in most of the cases double or even more than double. It depends what the loan to value is on the provider. So if you put like 20,000 on some lending platform, you will probably be able to lend 10,000 or 12,000 or something like that. But if something happens, then everything is gone. So I think we have discussed this in quite detail now. Let me see what I have next on my plan here. We have talked about the conference already. Yes, so let's discuss a little more news. Let's have a news update. What happened till yesterday, at least, because this morning, I haven't checked any news. So we see more and more companies, more and more institutes, more and more politicians, more and more big players, so to say, coming into our field. We see now the English politicians coming into proposing that they want to set up a Bitcoin reserve. We have seen Pakistan establishing a Bitcoin reserve. A lot of states in the US are going into the direction that they actually are planning or have already signed it into their states. We have smaller governments, of course, like Bhutan, we have El Salvador, and others that are coming into the industry and seeing actually the value. Some are fighting against the IMF, as you know. For example, El Salvador, they have the problem that they have been taking money from the IMF, and the IMF does not like that they buy Bitcoin. Why is that? Because the strategy of the IMF is to give money to countries to be able to control them or have a word there. And if El Salvador is able to build up his Bitcoin reserves even more and more, the problem for the IMF will be that this country will not be controllable in the future anymore, as their assets, their Bitcoin assets, are growing. The thing is with money, with currency, so with fiat currency, it's devaluing, as you know. It is devaluing at a much greater point than you think. I believe that the real inflation rate is at least around 10, if it's not 15 in most of the countries. So even if you invest in the S&P 500, you will just get out even. What that means is you get out even, you're not losing any money, but you're also not making any money. In most of the years, this is also true with gold. So you are barely holding your value, but the only asset that you actually gaining value, you can usually make 60% a year, is Bitcoin. Why is this so important, or why is this so fascinating? It is so fascinating because it is, to my knowledge, the only vehicle which will allow you to get 60% returns. Do you have a company that makes 60% returns? I don't think so, right? It's very hard to set up a business. It's very hard to have anything, any asset, any business, whatever it is, that you can make 60% a year. Even if it goes down and it's just 20, 30%, it's still an asset that you cannot beat. So my question to you is, why are you not invested in Bitcoin? I understand it is better to have more businesses or more opportunities to make money. So I'm not telling you to shut down your company, whatever, but I urge you to think about that. If it's not, would not be better to get into the industry a little more, or you start to charge in Bitcoin, or if you are a little bigger company, why don't you have your own strategic reserve? Why don't you have your own Bitcoin reserve? also for single persons, also for everybody. Everybody should have his Bitcoin reserve, in my opinion. It's easy to do. You don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin. Of course, most people cannot afford to buy a whole Bitcoin, but this is not important. You don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can dollar cost average. That means you buy like every day or every week or every month. You put in a little, you collect Satoshis, so to say, and at one point, you will have a whole Bitcoin. And looking at all the predictions that we have seen with Bitcoin, we have predictions for this year that are realistic, in my opinion, are between 150 to 200,000 till the end of the year. So the Bitcoin cycle or the crypto cycle is not over now, in my opinion. I'm not sure what will happen to the altcoins. I also think they will rally. So a lot of people have had hard times over the last month. The altcoin season, especially some industries that have been hyped last years or the years before, the sectors like gaming have not performed at all. If you have been very lucky, you have picked coins that have performed because they have a strong community, or you have been lucky that something else was behind it. Also in other narratives, who would have thought that XRP and ADA will pump that heavily in this cycle now? We cannot predict what is happening most of the time. I was quite sure that XRP will come up a little more because they won a lot of their legal claims, but who would have thought that it explodes like that? Most of the people are still very much in a negative if they look at their portfolio, as they have not been able to get out of the market. We have seen some months ago that the market was really rallying up. A lot of coins were rallying up, but nobody really thought that the market will get a dip and then come up again. But this happened. So you always have to be prepared. This leads me to my next idea or my next thought I want to discuss with you. So you need to have an exit strategy. An exit strategy will be basically a percentage strategy, or you need an indicator, or you need whatever you want to put on your chart. You can just, for example, use the Fear and Greed Index. I will link a video on top where I used the Fear and Greed Index. What that means is you have an indicator on your chart, or you can also just go to a website and look at the Fear and Greed Indicator. When the Fear and Greed Indicator turns actually to fear or extreme fear, you should buy. So I suggest that you're just buying when there is extreme fear. You buy, opposite to all the other people. Most of the people will actually sell if there is extreme fear, but you buy. When the Fear and Greed Indicator shows extreme greed, it's probably a good time to sell. So you're always doing the opposite. You can set up special numbers. So you could say, I'm selling when the Fear and Greed Indicator is 75 for 4 days, and you buy when the Fear and Greed Index hits 25, for example. So this would be an option. Also, you can set up a percentage number. You track your portfolio, hopefully. If you see in your portfolio, you have gains of whatever, 100% or 50% or 200%, you have to decide for yourself. You need to understand where you are in the cycle to decide this. But this can also be dangerous. This can also be or can lead to the fact that you're missing the exit. So if you think we are still early in the cycle, but we are actually late, then it will not help you much. What I mean is we are now in June, beginning of June. In my opinion, we will run until November. So in my mind, I will set automatically a little higher percentages that I expect my portfolio to do. This can be a mistake because it can lead to the outcome that I miss the top again. So with percentages, it's a little difficult. With a fear and greed index or with some, you can use a rainbow chart to give you more ideas. The rainbow chart will just have different colors and look at other cycles and will try to predict if this could mark the end already. It's marked blue, green, orange, red, and so on. This is why it's called the rainbow chart, and it will give you a good indication if you have maybe reached already the top or not. So you need an exit strategy to be able to sell at the right point. What else can we discuss? So we have seen a lot of news coming out are also around Ethereum, that we have the Pectra update now, of course. Lots of ETF inflows we had recently. Ethereum had quite good inflows. Also, Bitcoin had record inflows into the ETFs, which connects somehow to the industry speakers. This mirrors what we see at the conferences. So also the biggest money bringers are now the ETFs. And BlackRock, of course, also owns quite a big share in strategy. So in Michael Saylor's company, this is going all in the same direction, if you ask me. I don't see a massive problem for the industry at the moment, but it could lead to one. I don't want to discuss this in this video. I will make a separate video that I will probably just put on my website. If you are signing up for the newsletter that you can do for free on block7.io, you will get access to this video. It's not the right video for YouTube, if you understand what I'm talking about. So I think this was enough updates from today. Let me know if you like this kind of walk and talk or talk and stand video, so I know if I do some more of them. And I want to remind you one more time, also in this video, I have now hidden one seed phrase. Enter the competition, enter the challenge, click on the link below. You will get to a website where there is a video which explains in very detail how it works. So you see all the steps, what you need to do, and you can win 100, or you can unlock 100 USDC if you are the first cracking the wallet with the 12 seeds. So let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the video, and I see you tomorrow or later on in another video. Thanks. See you. Bye-bye.